This is Kevin Fry with the Concord High Crimson Review. We're sitting here with Cote Laramie in the Kristen McAuliffe Auditorium. What are you doing here, Cote?
I'm rehearsing for Grease.
You're in Grease, the spring musical.
Yes.
Oh, that's exciting. What's your part?
Duty. He's one of the T-Birds. He's kind of a newbie to the T-Bird gang, and he's learning the ropes a little. But he ends up with a pretty hot girl, so.
And you've been in a bunch of plays, right?
Yeah, this is my 8th year at Concord High. I've just really taken off with that, and I just love it.
That's great. Now, everyone knows about your thespian prowess, you know. Everyone knows you kick ass on the stage up there. You do.
Knows.
Stop it. But one thing that less people might know about, but has recently come to prominence, is your poetry, we'll call it a career.
Oh, yeah.
All right, you recently were a finalist in the Poetry Out Loud competition.
Yeah, the national finalist.
Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, it was amazing. I couldn't believe it when it happened.
Tell me a little bit about the competition. Like, how'd you get involved in it, for example?
Last year, it was like the first year Concord High did it, so everyone does it in English class. And, I just liked it a lot, so I really took an interest in it. And got a poem, memorized it, did it at the school competition, then won the school competition, and then went to the States and got second in the States last year.
Wow.
So, and I was like, I didn't have any coaching or anything, I just did it, at home a few times. So that was a lot of fun, and I met some cool people, and so then this year, I was familiar with it, so I was ready and raring to go. I started a little earlier, and this year they had a regional competition because there were so many more schools that did it. So I went to the regionals, got to the final 5 of the regionals, so I went to the States. Got to the States, and I was blown away because I won the States, and I couldn't believe it. It was one of the best nights of my life. I went out to margaritas afterwards. Talked to this guy, Roger Martin. He was this great poet and journalist teacher at Keene.
Yeah.
Keene. Oh, he's a cool guy and telling stories about his trips to Ireland and stuff. Anyways, but it was a great night. It was just a lot of fun. So after that, I practiced more, and I really took the time to get the understanding of my poems. Then I went to the national finals. It was all expense paid. That was the trip of my life. It was so much fun. I didn't advance to the finals because there was a semifinal round. They broke up all the 53 states and territories into 3 regional semifinals, and only 4 from each regional finals went. So 3 from each. 4. There are 3 regional regions, and then 4. So 3 people from each state in the United States. No, there was 1 person from each state in the United States. 53 people. So there are 53 people in this national competition. Yeah. And you were one of them. 300,000. And you were one of them. Yeah. Pretty much. Out of 300,000 initial competitors. Yeah. So you could say that you are the best poetry reader in the state of New Hampshire. Yeah, because out of 4,000 kids. As far as the Poetry Out Loud competition is concerned. Now, tell me, for the Poetry Out Loud competition, you have to memorize and recite a poem. Yeah, exactly. A lot of people think it's like, do your own stuff. But, no, there's a big list online that's actually populated by the Poetry Foundation. They're and part of it with the National Endowment for the Arts. And Poetry Foundation actually started this because it got this big grant from Lily, Ruth Lilly, who's the maker of Prozac. They called up on the phone one day and said, "Are you sitting down?" And they sat down and said, "We'd like to make a donation." They said, "How much?" They said, $300 million. Wow. This was a little magazine like that. They'd published T.S. Eliot. They published all these great poets, but they didn't have a lot of money because not a lot of people love poetry. But huge grants, so they really made it the best of it, and they made the Poetry Out Loud competition. Anyways, that's how that started, and pretty much what they do is they have a list online, and they also have a published book of anthology of poems, and you have to choose one of those and memorize it. Make it good. Make sure you understand it. There's some criteria that they use for judging, like parts of your performance, like your vocal articulation, your physical presence, evidence of understanding. A lot of it's subjective. So, like when I got to the national competition, it was really, there's nothing I could do to make sure I won. Like, it wasn't like diving where, you know, you have to do certain things and you get a score.
Okay.
It was like all like what they thought, you know, if it was appropriate. They had an overall, I mean, so the most counted category is like overall performance.
Yeah.
So it's really subjective, but
that's really, really impressive.
But yeah, so it's one poem to begin with because you win the school, and then 3 poems you have to memorize for the rest. And then usually there's usually 2 poems, and then they'll narrow it down and then do 1 poem for every like competition like stage.
So you must have been doing this like for years.
What?
You must have been like, poetry's been obviously a big part of your life for a long, long time.
Well,
right?
funny thing is, Kevin, that it wasn't. Like, I mean, it was a very small part. In fact, ever since I was little, I've always taken a liking to poetry when it was around me, but I never like chased it when it left. So I never really was immersed in it or had the mental maturity, I guess, to consider that maybe poetry would be a good thing.
When did you really, really start becoming engrossed in it?
When I did Poetry Out Loud. I mean, it opened my eyes
to
the
just
world.
last year.
Yeah, and it was funny because that's what they do. Like, they're trying to bring poetry to kids, but like it literally just made me. It brought me in.
And now you're obsessed.
Oh, I love it. And I love writing too, not just poetry, just writing.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that was my next question. So
that's a good one.
So we relocated to Commons A. They kicked us out of the auditorium after hours, and we were just getting into a little more about your own personal poetic career. Yeah. Besides Poetry Out Loud, it's a competition where you study a poem and you immerse yourself in it and you read that. But you also write poetry yourself.
Yeah. Well, the search for a poem involves reading tons of poems.
Yeah.
And they're all poems that are good poems, or at least classic or something. The poems, they're published, so they're pretty good.
Yeah.
So just reading that, gets you, and also gets you like a feel for the landscape of things. Like I'll read you've read like famous poems, and famous poets too.
Yeah.
And doing it over and over again, it's kind of hard to break into anything. I know when I started trying to learn jazz music, I didn't really know the world of jazz because it's an ancient world kind of, and so I had to start making connections between different artists and stuff. And so the same thing with poets. I read a poet in one anthology and I see it somewhere else. So and it's very important if you're going to take an interest in poetry to know the background of things, just like literature. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. And how has this whole experience affected your own poetry? Because you write poetry.
Yeah. Well, I guess vicariously it did because I did Poetry Out Loud. It made my English teacher, Miss Belair, buy me this book for Christmas. I'm guessing called The Poetry Home Repair Manual by Ted Kuser. And reading that really helped me a lot. Just clean up my poetry. Because until then I was just writing what I thought might have been poetry, and pretty rough stuff. I made a book of all rough stuff. 76 pages of greatness that I thought it was just not edited and stuff. So, but it was good because I had that time to really just write and feel confident in my work, and not have to be pushed into a mold that I wasn't ready to be pushed into yet.
Sure.
So, anyways, now that I have clean water to drink, I can really, make that water into something I want, and which is what I'm doing. It helps reading other poets. I got the poem book that I used to read a poem on the analysis this morning. I got at the national finals competition. I've gotten all my poem books from Poetry Out Loud. I see there's a whole stack of them in my room. They're all for free, which is great. So that
that's
really
awesome.
Helps.
That's really cool. All right, so last question: where do you want to go from here?